in.
Yeah, perfect.
So yeah.
I'm going. Yeah. Nice to be standing here rather than rushing around downstairs in what is undoubtedly a fairly mad workshop at the moment. I'm not going to get going just yet into what's happening this afternoon until I know that we've got several people here, because at the moment I think we've got a few, but not everybody. So don't want to get going and start telling you how to do things and then finding that half of you aren't here, which would be very, very bad news. But I wish you could see the workshop, because we are going absolutely full out at the moment for Wreath. So all the people who are not brave enough or mad enough or whatever else you want to say to make their own, they're all ordering them. So we've got about 5 or 6 florists downstairs at the moment, frantically making amazing wreaths. Obviously, they're not going to be as amazing as what you're about to make, but they are. They do look pretty good. So it's a busy old time down there. Lots of bouquets going out the door. Obviously not Christmas-wise, but wreaths seem to be really, really popular. And I was so cold earlier. I'm just wondering actually whether I'm going to explode from heat with my furry gherkin. But anyway, we'll see how we go. And I'm thinking that we will get going because more or less everyone is with us, I think. So I will start. So welcome to the Real Flower Company's virtual Christmas workshop. Very sad it's having to be virtual, but hey, at least we're having one. I feel a bit of a fraud standing here with my mince pies in front of me, not able to offer you guys one. But I hope wherever you are doing this, you've got something festive to enjoy, whether it's a glass of glühwein, which I could seriously do with, or a mince pie or whatever else. I think it's just important to get into the festive spirit, and I think there's nothing better than making a Christmas wreath for getting into the Christmas period. There's something so uplifting, I think, about getting your wreath, getting it on the door, and sort of welcoming the start of Christmas. So that's what we're going to do. I would just make 1 or 2 comments, because I have learnt from making Christmas wreaths here where I'm doing it now, in that I'm doing it over a carpet. Now, if any of you are planning on making your wreath with a carpet around you, I suggest you pick up everything you've got and move quickly to somewhere where you can sweep the floor, because I am still trying to scrape moss off the carpet from previous sessions that we've been doing. So do make sure, ideally, if you can avoid the carpet, do so. Otherwise, you'll be swearing at the Real Flower Company for I don't know how long. And also just having a reasonable workspace that you can operate to make your wreath. I've got my Real Flower Company pinafore on, because frankly I make so much mess. I've talked about the carpet, but I seem to get moss and bits of foliage everywhere. So you're probably all much more tidy and much more logical about how you do things, but there's nothing like wearing an apron to keep moss off you. Good sharp pair of scissors. Now this will make you laugh, because I think by the end of Christmas I'm going to end up with no fingers at all. I was dragged's rude actually, but I was taken down to the workshop yesterday to help make wreaths because we were so busy, and I awarded myself a brand spanking new pair of very nice forestry scissors, and I managed to take the end off my finger. So I've just recovered from the one I did last week. So make sure you've got sharp scissors, but please don't do what I seem to be able to do. And another pair of not so good scissors just to cut the wire, because you don't want to be using a brand spanking lovely pair of scissors cutting wire. So hopefully you have all got your box of goodies. You've got a bag of moss, you've got a ring, and you've got some wire. So, and obviously you've got foliage. But for starters, we're going to unwrap the wire, and we're going to literally just tie a knot round the edge of the ring. Now, when you're doing this, you want to leave a decent length of wire, which is going to be where you're going to hang your wreath from. Now, the tricky thing, and if you're a professional, which I am not the professional, I'm more of the grower, but I'm you know, we're in this together. You want to make quite sure that you can find the end of your wire at the end of the session. So I suggest, having tied a knot, that you put an elastic band or a ribbon or something over the end so that you can see. It sounds a bit mad when you're looking at a bare bit of ribbon, sorry, a bare bit of whatever this is, copper wire, but I can assure you, once you start loading your foliage, you'll very quickly lose the end. So I'm literally just tying a knot. I'll tell you what you can use. You've probably all got the string off the end of your moss bag. So if you undo the moss bag and just use a bit of string and just tie it like I have round. That was good, wasn't it? That's come straight off. I think you might get on better with your piece of string than I am going to be with my elastic band, but I'm just going to thread that through. And then you will see what I mean, but it just means I made one the other day and I managed to lose the wire off the end. So I got all my lovely foliage all packed up round the ring, and then thought, oh flip, where's the end of the wire? So it will help, okay? So we've got that for starters. Now we're going to unpack the moss. This is one of my favourite bits. There's something about moss, I don't know what it is, but it's just so tactile and just fun to mess around with. It's probably the child coming out of me, I'm afraid. But get it out, not on the carpet, unlike Rosebie. And the easiest way to do this, because I personally think this is quite scary. I'm looking at this flipping great pile of moss and thinking, crikey, how the heck am I going to get that all on there? And how do I work out how much I need and so on? If you look at the ring, it's got 5 sections. So if we logically divide the moss into 5 piles, then you'll be able to put one moss section on each of the copper wire sections. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to move the mince pies because otherwise they're going to end up in the wreath. Put them on one side. So split this into 5. And we'll go. See, there's moss going everywhere. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This moss has all come from the UK. It doesn't actually, we haven't got it, we have got some on the farm, but this actually hasn't come off the farm, so we're so busy picking everything else to go in the wreaths that we've got the moss in. And I've just heard, actually, ironically, that Covent Garden, where a lot of this moss comes from, they have run out of moss. So what is everyone going to do with their wreaths? Right, here we are. We've got 5 blocks of moss. Now, you'll find it's probably some of it's quite compact, so just tease it out because you don't want it all too compacted in its little patch. And then, having teased it out, we're then going to roll it into a section like a sausage. You see what I'm doing? This is the bit I said, yeah, the child coming out of me. It's a bit like messing around with plasticine or clay or anything. So you get your moss section like that. Get a few of the bits, stragglers, and whack it onto here. So we've got the wire going here, and you put your moss on there. And you get, one of the things that's important to do is keep the wire quite tight, otherwise you get yourself in a bit of a tangle, which I can assure you I'm very good at doing. So keep the moss quite tight, keep the wire quite tight, and start to wrap it around the ring and around your moss section. So you literally pull it, and you want to get it really quite tight, okay? Because you'll find if you don't go tight enough, when you start to load your foliage onto the ring, your moss will be all over the place. So tight as you can, unravel the wire around the moss, around that first section. And you can, if you're worried that you haven't, you've got a bit looser at one end, you can always bring the wire back. You've got a whole reel of wire here, so you're not going to run out of wire. So don't worry about that. So that's the first section done. Got my wire out, ready for the next section. So, sausage number 2 coming up. Hope you're all getting along okay with your sausages. Don't worry, important to say that if anyone's got any questions, do just type them. I know you're all on mute, so just type your questions, and I've got Lucy helping me, who will reply and help you as much as she can. And if she can't help you, she'll just tell me and say somebody's asking why, da 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 da, and I'll be able to say, well, hopefully I'll be able to say because of X, Y, and Z. So please feel free to ask any questions. It's not a race, okay? That's important to say. It doesn't matter how long you take. You may just want to watch this. You may want to, you may be really speedy and much faster than me, in which case you will have half done it by the time I've done a quarter. It really is not a problem. But please, it's all about enjoying it. So don't panic if you're getting behind or you don't understand or whatever, because we're not competing here. We just want to make a beautiful wreath. So section number 2 coming up, and whack that on. And it's also quite difficult trying to show you as I go, but if you can't see or you want me to repeat something, do say. So wire, again, quite tight, round the sausage of moss, and round we go. We had a very funny time yesterday because our lovely pickers, who are normally picking all the foliages, etc., that we use in our bouquets, were brought in yesterday because we were so busy to do the mossing. And I think they'd never done anything like it before. I'm not sure whether they preferred mossing or whether they preferred picking foliage, but we've got some very smart moss bases downstairs. Thank goodness for all our lovely pickers. So that's the second sausage. So how many sausages have you done so far? Right, that's the second one. And don't worry if it's sort of a bit straggly on the end, because when you come along with your 3rd, 4th and 5th sausages, it'll all get washed in together. So on to the 3rd section, rolling it round like so. And it's just so much nicer. I don't know about you, but I've used the dreaded floral foam bases in the past, and they crumble and they dry out, and there's something so good and natural obviously about moss, because it's moist for starters, and it'll keep your foliage looking really fresh and really brilliant. And the great thing is that if you're worried about it drying out, you can just spritz it, which will get the moisture back in the moss. I mean, your foliage will last a lot longer. So it's really the best base you can possibly use. So wire going round again, round our sausage. And what I'm going to do is do this workshop in sort of 3, basically. So for starters, we're going to finish the moss base, and then we're going to prepare all the foliage that you've got, get that all ready to roll. And then we're going to have a quick break, because I expect everyone will want to top up whatever they're drinking, or go and find something to eat, or whatever you want to do. And then we'll come back and we'll finish off, do the last bit after about sort of five minutes. So we'll have a 5-minute break in about, I don't know, 40 odd minutes, I suppose, thereabouts. I think that'll work well. So that's the third one going in. Now then, 4th sausage coming up. So round we go, like my Alsacian days, nice, tight, really rolling it into a good ball, and then onto the wreath. See, it's really starting to take shape, and there's something just lovely about it. I keep saying that, but I don't know why. I think I should have been a potter, actually. I've probably been a rubbish potter, but I can imagine messing around with clay must be a similar idea. Not that we're messing around. You are going to, by the end of this wreath making session, you're going to have a wreath which is going to be so popular, not only with everyone who comes to see you, but your neighbours will be going, where did you get that wreath from? Did you make it yourself? And I don't know about you, but in the past I just have run out of time, basically. I'm too busy rushing around here and worrying about, you know, what's going on here. And I suddenly think on Christmas Eve, oh my gosh, or whatever it is, I haven't got my wreath sorted out. So I normally sneak down to a florist and say, please, can I have a wreath? So it would be great this year, you know, to have made your own and actually be really proud of what you've done, to be able to say to your neighbour, yes, actually, I made it myself. Because there's nothing more embarrassing than saying, actually, as it came from down the road or whatever. So round we go with our wire. I've got a bit of a, actually, this is sort of class, there's a bit of a bit gappy there, I think. So I'm just going to grab a bit from my last sausage, just put it in there, because you'll find when you come back there, you'll think, oh flip, there's a bit of a thin bit there, which you don't want. And the great thing with this wire and the moss is that it's very forgiving. So back we go. You're not going to run out of wire, so you don't need to worry about that. And we're on to our last sausage. So there's a certain amount on the carpet. Hopefully, actually, if you're really smart, which probably you all are, you'll have got your box that all the foliage came in, and you'll have got it down below your feet, which I should have done, and everything that drops down goes into the box. That would have been very sensible, Rosebie, but sadly I haven't done that. But anyway, never mind. On to the last bit of moss. How are you all getting on? How's it going? This is a frustration. This is what's so annoying about doing it virtually, because I'd love to be able to see, you know, how it's going with you guys, and whether you're understanding what's being said so far. But hopefully, if anyone is having any issues, you'll have told Lucy. So, last one going on. And it's extraordinary, isn't it? If you think that whole bag, that was full of moss, and we're just about, well, we will have used it all. It's something you just wouldn't kind of imagine. But round we go. And really compact it down. And check you haven't got any gaps, which you shouldn't do. It does make a difference, actually, if you split things up, though. You know, like splitting the wreath into 5. It suddenly makes it all, well, not quite so scary, I think, which is good. There, round we go, like so. And then we're just about finished. Now, the question is, what happened to my elastic band or your piece of string? Yeah, it's there. It is there. I've done a marvellous job wrapping it in. Now, you've probably got yours looking sort of very sensibly. There we are. You see, it does make a difference if you have a little ring to go for. So that was a sensible move. Dearie me, I don't know who's teaching who around here. So right, that is that on the mossing. You're not going to chop the wire off, okay? So don't get over keen and zealous and think, right, I'll finish that off. We're going to keep that wire out. There we are. So that's your finished job, like that. How's everyone done? Is everyone happy on their mossing? All quiet by the sound of things, which hopefully means you're all happy.
Yeah, nothing yet.
Nothing yet. Good. Well, so that's that. I'm just doing that a little bit more. But you should be ending up with a nice plump mossed base, I hope. And I hope you've enjoyed that bit as much as I have, because it's just a lot of fun doing that. Right, we're going to get rid of, I've got a tiny bit of moss left, but not enough to worry about. That's going back in that bag for now, waste not, whatnot. You notice these bags are compostable, so when you've done all your ends, etc., stick it all in the bag and chuck it in your compost heap if you've got one. So now we're going to move that to one side. So I haven't got a particularly big works top here, so you've probably hopefully got a bigger table, but I'm going to just start by bringing the spruce over. So we've all got exactly the same in our boxes. You've got spruce, which no wreath would be without, I don't think. And then we've got viburnum tinus, which is that, with some flower, some greenery, really good and bushy, so that'll be great in the wreath. And then we have Senecio, which is that. Also known as brachyglottis, which sounds like some hideous throat infection. don't like the sound of that at all. Why they couldn't just stick to calling it Senecio, I don't know. And then some eucalyptus, a la voila. And then the pièce de la résistance, the rose hips. Now do watch out. I mean, I don't know, I mentioned how frightful my hands were earlier. I'm not wearing gloves, as you can see. Some of you probably got very beautiful hands that haven't had the finger chopped off, and will probably be wearing gloves, which is very sensible because, especially with things like the rose hips, because they are quite prickly. So just watch out for that when we get there. But we're going to start with the spruce, and you're going to chop. The trick here is we're going to chop everything down, ready to go, to make into little bundles to put on our wreath. So we're going to chop that there. Okay, so that's just chopping the end off and chopping that like that. So you're going to end up with about 5-6 inches pieces. That's sort of ideal. So every bit we can use. So except if you've got a really, I'll show you, actually none of mine, this bit down here is quite thick. The really thick bits you probably won't use. But depending on how you want to do your wreath, some people like them quite wild, so you might want to leave a few longer bits so that when you actually come to putting your bundles on, your wreath is quite loose and wild. Some of you might quite like it tighter and shorter and more sort of tidy, I suppose, in which case, you know, go shorter. So I think some and some's quite good. I'm going to cut that there and chop that there. And this is quite solid, but if we get desperate, we can use a bit like that. But to be honest, you've probably got so much that you probably won't need it, but we'll see how we go. So that's that. Chop that there, and that about there. And then this little fellow. One of the big thing I think is so lovely about making wreaths is the smells. I mean, there's so many lovely kind of Christmassy scents, and I think spruce has that. It really does just conjure up Christmas to me. So I'll do that. And we're lucky actually because we've got a lot of Christmas trees growing on the farm. So we go off and pinch, you know, the Christmas trees that are going off to you lot for your beautiful decorated trees. We take the bottoms or the bits around the side off, which we use for our wreaths. So it works well. So nothing gets wasted, which is great. So I think the thought, I'm sure there's a lot to be said for an artificial Christmas tree, but I personally, with a company like the Real Flower Company, I'm quite an advocate of real. So quite good to be able to use every bit of it. Right, last bit of spruce. So chopping off the end of that, and those like so. Go. You see, you get a lot of bits off here. I'm just moving my hand out of the way because I quite like to keep some fingers intact for the end of this course. And then that, and that's probably too solid, so I'm going to chuck that bit away. And then the only other thing you want to do with the spruce is just take the ends off, so just the little bits at the bottom, so that it sits better on your wreath. So I'm pulling off literally just the tips. That's speed that along. And if you're wearing gloves, your fingers will not quite look like mine. In the days before coronavirus, when we perhaps went out and met people for supper and so on, and somebody would look at me and go, gosh, I look at my hands and say, gosh, I guess what you do for a living. Just very rude, I always thought. I think I need to go out to supper wearing a pair of gloves, actually, that probably be sensible. Right, there we go. So, getting it on all right, I hope. Getting through the spruce. But it's, you know, I think that having done all this, you know, you will be so proud of the finished article. And I think the fun thing is that, yes, we've given you, you know, what we think looks good, but you can use so many other things. You know, you don't have to just use what we've got, or if you don't like, I don't know, the Senecio or the eucalyptus or something, you know, you can put anything you want to in there. We do a real mix, and we've got, I don't know if you've had a look on our website, but we've got ones called citrus and spice, which have got oranges and lemons in them, and we use herbs So if you're lucky enough to have a garden with some herbs in it, you can go out and pick some rosemary, which smells fantastic. Lavender foliage always looks great. And just we use things like natural pepperberries, which look really pretty. You may be a real glittery person, in which case you might want lots of, Christmas baubles and so on, which you can wire in. So there's so many different ways that you can actually, put your own personal touch on a wreath. But I think what you're going to end up with, which will look like this, is just a very natural one. But then you can add to that. And what we find a lot of people do with us is, obviously the Royal Flower Company is known primarily for its scented roses. And a lot of people buy a wreath or make their own wreath, and then the week before Christmas order just a bunch of roses and then just chop the roses and poke them in. And with your lovely moist thick wreath base, you can literally just chop the rose into about sort of, I don't know, 15 centimeters or whatever, sorry, 6 inches, however you operate, and poke it into the wreath. And then that'll look fantastic for Christmas on your door. Obviously roses wouldn't last from now till then, but the last week it's quite a fun thing to be able to put on, and then people can smell them. That's the spruce done. Now we go on to the senecio. So again, senecio, you literally want, and sorry, one thing I should have said, you've probably already realised, one of the most untidy people in the world. But if you can keep your piles nice and neatly, then it's nice and neat. It's much easier when you go to make your bundles, because it's all very logically done. So that's the spruce, senecio, 6-inch pieces. So something like this, okay. I'm going to split into 4 bits, okay, and just take the bottom leaves off like that, and then you've got that. And actually the senecio really does lift, because the sort of silvery leaves and the silvery back, it looks so good in a wreath. I love it. And that's what I mentioned earlier about things like silver lavender. That just adds another dimension. And you may want to, some people actually quite like putting little twiggy bits in and spraying them with either silver or snowy spray. That can add another dimension. But we're going natural here. So natural, and then you do what you want to do. So senecio into our 6-inch bits. This always makes me laugh, this stuff, because my children, I've got 3 children, and when they were teenagers, always desperately short of money, you say, "Mommy, you got any jobs for us?" And I go, "Yeah, okay, you can go out into the senecio." We've got several thousand senecio plants where we cut this basically throughout the year for our bouquets. And they go out in the paddock and take every single yellow flower off the senecio, because we don't like yellow flowers on our senecio, because it's a really cheerful looking plant, but it's got bright yellow flowers, which does look very cheerful, but didn't look quite so good when we were trying to do a subtle pink bouquet. So they come back after about 2 hours going, "Oh, I'm really bored of taking yellow flowers off senecio, Mum, can I do something else?" So every time I look at this, I think of my 13, 14-year-old children muttering about senecio. That was a lovely job, actually. Great thing to do. Anyway, there we go. No yellow flowers at this time of the year. So that's that done, nearly through. I wonder how you're all getting on. You've probably all finished. You're not talking so much. Actually, I hope some of you, it looked as though some of you are going to be doing this together, either with your family or friends or whatever. So I hope you're having a lot of laughs doing it, and probably some competition, I suspect, amongst you. As I said earlier, it's not a competition, but I bet when there's a couple of family members, I bet you are competing. You probably are competing. Right, I'm nearly through the senecio. And hopefully, I don't know, the great thing about this is it's not going to dry out, because it's on our moss base. So it will look fantastic all the way through Christmas and beyond. I live in a really windy site, and our front door just gets all the weather at it the whole time. And actually, the wreaths stand up so well, they don't seem to worry at all. Right, onto the viburnum. I'm just going to clear some of that debris into my bin, so into your box. Clear up the debris as you go. I've just got a bit more space. I won't show you the carpet, it's not a good sight. So if I burn them, again, sort of 6-inch pieces. So that I'll probably take like that. So take that bit off, and then you've got that bit as well. You just take the bottom bits. It's a shame actually there's a bit of flour on there, but like that. Okay, that's a sort of perfect size. That's a little bit longer, but that'll probably be quite fun sticking out of somewhere. So just break it into little pieces. You just want the lower stem to be clean, and then it'll sit well when you start to do your bundles like that. So now it's just got a really good body to it. We love this. We use so much of this at work because literally throughout the year, I'm just trying to think, there's probably 1 month when you can't pick it because it's got a lot of young growth on it. But really for 11 months of the year, we can pixelate viburnum, put it in bouquets. And at this time of the year, it's got this lovely flower on it. But you know, midsummer, it still looks great because it's got lovely dark green foliage, which works so well in whatever we're using for our bouquets. So I'm a strong advocate. If you're a gardener or if you're lucky enough to have a garden, you know, there's nothing like having a bit of viburnum in there because it really does give you, well, A, interest in the garden, but B, interest in your flower arrangements any time of the year. So take that bit off. See how lovely and bushy that is. It's just perfect. And then getting there. The odd yellow flower off. We have got, you would be amazed how many rows of viburnum we've got. I'm married to the serious farmer rather than the horticultural side of things. And he drives to work past the rose paddock every day, and he always looks at the viburnum and goes, "What are you doing with so many thousand bushes of viburnums? We literally have got acres of it." And he's always amazed when I actually bring him in here and show him how much we're cutting. He can't believe it. But you can imagine this time of the year, we're using a lot in our wreaths, etc. Right, that's really a bit scrappy. Might get a little bit off there, but that thick stem is going in the compost. More here. So we go some slightly longer, some slightly shorter. It's a bit of a longer bit. And then bushy bit here. I always find it's the prep, which is, well, it's the fun bit, but it does take a long time, but it does make such a difference if if you've prepped it all properly. It really does make things a lot easier. Otherwise you find that you've got your fingers wrapped up in the wire and you're trying to cut bits, and that's disaster. So what do they always say? They always say, fail to prepare, prepare to fail. So we are definitely preparing. We're getting there. Nice lot of viburnum. This is such a great species actually, because there's so many different types of viburnum, but the Tinus is a really good one, I think, for for a garden. Birds love it as well. Right, that's that. One more bit. So you should probably have about three really bushy bits. Hopefully you'll look at that. Let's look at the flower on that. It's lovely. Just coming out, which is really pretty. So you've got some white and some still in bud. So we'll take that off there. And there. A bit like that. Yeah. The other thing that actually some reasons we did send some kits out using buried ivy, which is also lovely at this time of the year. That hasn't got any buried ivy in it, but it's got a lovely little berry which looks so pretty in wreaths. So if you've got, you can go foraging and see any ivy, possibly grow a bit of ivy. And then the other thing you can do is trails of ivy, because that looks really pretty with long bits of ivy just sort of floating around the edge of the wreath. Right, eucalyptus now. I've got half a tree here. I don't think you'd have got half a tree because it wouldn't have fitted in your box, but whatever you've got, don't panic. You just want to just cut the sort of longish bits off. So we don't want the thick stem. So I'm literally just cutting off all the side bits. So I'll chop that down in a minute, but just for now, we'll take these bits off. I think actually the way I'm behaving, I'm very relieved my career didn't end up in hairstyling, because I don't think it would have been my forte. I don't know if you've got any hairdressers amongst us. Probably if we have, you're probably doing extremely well. Probably very adept with the scissors. Right, okay, that's that. I don't know how much you can see of my table. My table's not looking quite as tidy as it was. I will tidy up. When we have a 5-minute break, I shall tidy up. But there's another slightly different. This is slightly different eucalyptus to that one, but it's all got that same lovely sort of silveryness to it, and just a bit of wildness, which I love about eucalyptus. And we, you know, I mean, I don't know whether any of you have ever seen them growing in the wild, but they do get absolutely huge, these massive great trees. And the thing I think is so fascinating about them is the fact that when it's young growth, the leaf looks so different from when it's actually mature. You know, and a leaf which could be round now will end up as quite a sort of elongated leaf, which is just amazes me. Right, so we're going to take the bottom few bits off there. Have that about that length. So again, about roughly, you know, 15 centimeters, 6 inches. But you can go longer. You know, it's not a problem if you want to have sort of long bits sticking out. So if you want to leave some long or whatever, that's entirely up to you. But I'm just getting them roughly around that length. And you can always come along and snip them afterwards. So that's that. Just take the bottom leaves off, which is quite nice and easy to do. And actually what will speed it up is if you take all the bottom leaves off, and then you can put them together in your hand and then just snip them all roughly the same length. You learn as you go along on this job. I say yesterday when I was brought downstairs to help, I was very much learning that there was 1 or 2 wreaths that I hadn't made before. And I was going, no, they're all going, no, Rosebie, you don't do it like that, you do it like this. So it's, and the beauty is that if, you know, no 2 wreaths look the same, which is lovely. So people have very much a bespoke wreath. Right, so you just snip off the ends like that. They're all roughly around the same length. And then you're in business. And the rose hips we're going to leave. So you should by now literally just have rose hips left that we haven't attacked, but we're going to leave those right till the end because we're literally just going to poke those in. So we're going to do our bundles and then we're going to poke the rose hips in afterwards. So I think it's now, you don't need to watch me tidying up, try and sort of make some sort of semblance of orderliness here, but we're going to have a 5-minute break. So just go and make yourselves a large drink of whatever and see you in 5 minutes to do the final bit. So you hopefully, if you're all roughly at about the same sort of speed, have got your bundles all together. So you've got your spruce, your sinacea, your viburnum and your eucalyptus ready to go. And then we will start putting the bundles together and putting them onto the wreath base and doing the last bit. So see you in about 5 minutes. Thank you very much. And do shout, you know, anyone's got any questions, please shout because we're here to help. So just say if you can't, you know, if something doesn't make sense. All right, see you soon. Aha! Right. Hopefully you can all hear me. Please say if you can't. But I'm hoping that you are. Well, I'm not muted anymore. Actually, you probably quite like me to be muted, but anyway, I'm not, hopefully. So round 2, here we are. Hopefully everyone's got their wreaths all ready to roll, and you've got all your foliage ready to roll. So this is the well, it's all, every bit's fun, but this is the kind of, sort of the last bit, so to speak. And I normally, I said earlier when we first got going, I said split the wreath into 5. And if you remember every section, which obviously is now covered in moss, but every section was in 5. So we're going to make 10 bundles. So we're going to have 2 bundles per section, if that makes sense. So I normally start with a bit of spruce, which is going to go on the flat against the wreath. So a bit of spruce and a bit of the viburnum tinus and a bit of eucalyptus, which it doesn't matter if it's, bits are sticking up or out or whatever, it really couldn't matter less. A bit of senecio, like so. So that's 1 bundle, okay? And they've all got, you've cleaned all the lower bits, so you've got clean stems to do it on. And I'll just chop that bit of eucalyptus a little bit. And then get your base, where the wire is, and we put the first bundle flat onto the base like that. And you're going to wrap the wire tightly around it. And the trick is to keep it really tight, because then it'll stay on place. The stems will stay nice and flat against the wreath and stay moist, because they're actually against the moss. You can tuck them in if you want to, but for this, I mean, this works very well, which is just to flatten them like that. But you will see that you can poke various bits in. So we'll do that later if we need to. So we've got the first bundle on, tied the wire around it tightly. And what you do is the two bundles per section, I do one to the right and one to the left. And so you're completely filling it up. So we'll get the next bundle, bit of spruce, bit of bushy viburnum, and a bit of eucalyptus. And you can use, you can put a couple of bits of eucalyptus, it doesn't matter, whatever you want to do. And another bit of senecio. So nice little bundle like that. And I've done one's going to my right, so this one's going to go to the left. Okay, like that. So you've got one to the right, one to the left. It doesn't matter if bits are sticking up. I think it's quite fun. It sort of adds to the, the sort of slightly wild look to it. Tying it round and turning it up so you can see it. I did actually manage to nearly put my thumb in it, which is really not very sensible. Like that. So you see, that's the first section with your two bundles. So we'll get onto the next section. I'll just strip off. I didn't strip the bottom of that spruce very well. I just have a reasonably clean stem, a bit of eucalyptus, and then some more viburnum, I can't speak. And then my eucalyptus. I'm putting a couple of bits in there and another bit of senecio. So there's another little bundle. I'll just chop the bottom off that eucalyptus. So I've gone right. I'll get my wire. I've gone to the right, to the left, so now I'm going to go to the right. So like that. So I'm putting it down there, like so. And then just tie the wire around. Try not to get the leaves sort of under, bending the leaves backwards, because especially the senecio, because the lovely thing about the senecio is the sort of silveriness to it. So you don't want that caught under the wire. Bring that round like so. So quite tight, all firmly in place. Get your wire out. And the trick here, I said about keeping the wire fairly tight. Don't let the wire too loose, because otherwise you'll find you're all over the place. You've got wire coming out everywhere. So just keep it quite tight, and then it doesn't get in a tangle. So more spruce, a bit of senecio, viburnum, and you can see, I'm sure you've probably worked it out already. What you can do is bundle them up into 10s now. I'm doing a slightly more random approach. But you know, if you're worried that you're going to have too much of something and not enough of something else, get your bundles prepared now. In fact, let's do that, and then there's no worry about that. So one bundle here, and then we get another bundle of viburnum and eucalyptus, snowshoe too, and it just gives you a rough idea. So we've already done three bundles, 4, 5. So we need another 5. So you can see you've got lots and lots and lots of stuff to play with. So don't worry about running out. Like that. Another bundle. And then you can also, you know, think, well, okay, I can be a bit more generous with X or Y, depending on what you've got. Snowshoe, eucalyptus. But it's just, see, what I love about this is all the sort of different textures. So you've got silvery textures, you've got the, you know, the silvery look, you've got the bushy viburnum, lovely bits of eucalyptus, and the spruce. It all just sort of works really well together. So 1, 2, 3, 5. A bit more spruce. Snowshoe and eucalyptus. There we go. And another couple. But you may be very happy doing what I started doing, which is just you know, do them as you go along. But I was just thinking, if you're worried about running out of something, at least if you've bundled them up like that, you haven't got a problem. Right, so off we go again. A bit more Sinatio. So I've got right, left, right. So my next bundle is going to go to the left, like so. And I'm getting wrapping my wire tightly round, keeping it tight. And you can shift. Thing is, once you've got the wire and you've tied it round, you can shift the foliages around, which I'll show you in a minute. You can just tease them, you know, out. If you want the Sinatio slightly more to the right, you can just wiggle it over. Nothing is set in stone, which is a relief. You pick up another bundle, spruce, eucalyptus. I'll just get another, that's a really pretty bit of flowering viburnum, which I'm going to shove in there. So that's going to the right. So we've got 4 bundles now. How are you all getting on? That's the question. Have you got 4 bundles going? Couldn't matter either way, but as long as you understand left, right, left, really does work well, because it just means it just starts to sort of fill out really nicely. But if you want them tighter, you know, shorter, not so bushy, it's entirely up to you as to how you do them. So my spruce, and then we'll get my viburnum like so. But you can also see, as I said earlier, you know, you don't have to stick with what we've done here, you know, and you can add things afterwards. That's the nice thing about it. So if you want to, you know, do the basic like we've done here, and then go and add some more things, there's absolutely, you know, you can just poke them into the moss, and that's the lovely thing about the moss. You know, it will let you do whatever. Whereas if you've got a much tighter, not so generous moss base, it's much more difficult to poke things in. So we're nearly halfway. I'm not looking at the floor because I hate to think what's down there now. Probably half the contents of the wreath. So a bit more spruce. Look at that, so pretty this time of the year. There's always something, and we're so lucky with the paddock, because when I first planted it, I sort of started with, you know, we started with roses and then got heavily into sort of other foliages, and there's always something interesting to look at, or, you know, to pick, which I love. And especially at this time of year, which can be a bit bleak. I don't know about you, I don't know where you all are, but it has been quite a bleak few days, and today is really cold. And I walked to work because I lived just above where the paddock is, and it was nothing nicer than walking along, freezing cold admittedly, but you know, with the frost on the Christmas trees and on the eucalyptus and so on, it looked so pretty, really nice. And I felt very lucky actually, thinking, well, it's fairly soon I'm going to be putting that on a wreath. So here we go. Right, my next bundle, one I prepared earlier in true Blue Peter style. I'm going to put that on there. So like that, round we go with our tightly held wire. And so, it's beginning to take shape, I hope. I hope you're all happy. It's all going okay. Going to have the smartest front door, or perhaps you're not going to put it on the front door. Would love to know actually where you end up putting your wreaths, whether they're all going on the front door or whether they're going inside, or I don't know, on a stable, or where you're going to put them. Do let us know, and do also, you know, if you fancy it, do share it on social media. You know, please send send us a picture anyway. We'd love to see how you've ended up, or what you've ended up with. Hopefully you'll be very pleased with it. But you know, Instagram, Facebook, be lovely to put them up there, and then we can say, wow, we did that. I don't know whether they're going to give me a job downstairs. I suspect they'll probably say I'm too messy, but hey ho. The good thing is it's fun making it. So trotting along, we've got another probably 4 to go. I don't know where you've got to. Finish off my spruce. Oh, we mustn't forget the rose hips, okay? The pièce de la résistance. Very prickly, but they do really add that. Well, we all need a bit of green and red at Christmas, don't we? So they will bring that to it. A bit more eucalyptus going in, and then we are getting there. And you can spread it out. You can do, you know, the world's your oyster, really. That's what's the nice thing about it is. I've just met the loop, which I know I was meant to start with, so we will ignore that quietly, okay? I'm sure you've all got your loops in the right place, because the nice thing about having a nice wire loop is that you've got something to hang it on. That's your Rosebie, who looks as though she's about to do it upside down, but I think it's a case of do as I say, not as I do, okay? Right, bit more spruce. And that. Bundle there, and round we go. And it actually, I find it terrifying how quickly the florists, okay, who are pretty professional, but how quickly they do it. I mean, they're making a wreath in about, dare I say it, 20 minutes. And I reckon if I'm going good, I will be able to do it in about an hour and 20 minutes. So I don't know whether I get a job down there, but it's not about speed, it's about enjoyment today, as far as I'm concerned. That's what we're doing. We're finding there's a certain amount of not enjoyment going on downstairs, because I think that some of the courier companies have been so overstretched by, you know, Cyber Monday and Black Friday. Yeah, horrendous. I nearly call them a festival. It's definitely not a festival, whatever you describe Black Friday as, but as a result of which the couriers have been rushed off their feet. So you lot are so sensible to be making your own wreaths, because a lot of wreaths that we sent out, you know, over the weekend and on Monday and so on have been delayed because these poor couriers are just run off their feet. So the telephone is quite hot at the moment. People go, I haven't had my wreath. Well, they should be making their own, shouldn't they? That's the answer. Right. It's such a difficult time of the year there, isn't it? Because it's, you know, people are so, especially this year, everybody wants something online. And I think the couriers are really, you know, find it tricky. But I think people need to get everything in perspective, don't they? Wreath will turn up one time, it just might not turn up quite on the day that you expected it, that's all. Right, I don't know about you, but I'm down to my virtual last bundle. Doesn't matter if you're not, but we could probably get away. We could probably put 2 in there. We felt generous, but that's nearly where we're at. It is just this. I don't know what it is. Something very, very satisfying about it, isn't there? Tuck that in there. So I think I'm going to do one more after this. Don't know how you nearly on 9, guys, or 10, or where you are. Anyone who's finished has sort of probably already hung their wreath up on the door. If you'd like a job, we are very short of florists. So do let us know. We're always looking for speedy florists here. Lovely place to work. Yeah, nice and cold. Nice place to go for a walk at lunchtime. Right, I'm doing my last bit. It's quite funny actually, because it's there's a sort of ongoing competition between my husband and his arable side and the horticultural side, and we have, obviously he's got his people who drive tractors and so on, and we're out there picking, and we always say, well, you can always come and do something constructive for a change and do some picking. No, stick to their tractors. So sadly this year we were meant to be having a cricket match or a rounders match, and it was going to be the farm versus the flower company, but thanks to coronavirus that's been put on hold. But next year we'll do it, and I'm sure we'll be considerably fitter, having done all this picking and so on, and the people who've been sat in the tractors won't be anywhere near as good as us. Anyway, right, I am just about there, but having got there, what I'm going to do is just tuck. I've still got my wire here, and I'm just going to tuck one or two little bits in. You shouldn't actually have any gaps. I mean, that looks to me pretty full, but you could, as I said earlier, you can poke bits straight into the moss. You don't have to wire them. You can literally, if you have a go, the trick is to get a bit of, say it's by Burnham, and if you just make a bit of a point, preferably without taking your fingers off. I'm using this rather than my lethal ones. Make a bit of a point, and then you can actually stab it into the moss. I tend to go all in the same direction, just simply because it just looks, I just feel it looks better. But it's entirely up to you as to what you do. But if you've got any gaps, there's a little bit of spruce I'm just going to poke into the middle, then you can literally just put it straight into the moss, and away you go. Now then, you will have all found your nice top there. I'm going to quietly, just so nobody notices, pretend that I'm actually in the right place. Honestly, talk about incompetent. I'm just going to bring that bit of wire down, bring it round there, and then bring it back towards where my hoop should be, also. And then we're going to make a nice big loop so that you can tie your wreath on the door or wherever it's going to go. So this is when you don't cut the wire with your, I've just lost an elastic band. Hopefully you've all got string, so you're not faffing around with elastic band. I'm going to cut really quite a long bit, so like about, 40 to 50 centimetres, half metre, and then you can make a nice big loop for your wire top. So we've got the end where you had your elastic band or string, and then the end I've just cut because I've got everything on there now, and I'm just going to tie it in a knot, and then I'm going to roll it. So sorry, it's difficult to show you, but I'm literally just tying a sort of knot like so, and then I'm going to wrap the wire around in a loop. Just wrapping the wire round, so it's a bit firmer. And then when I use my ribbon or whatever I want to use, I mean, I don't know how you're going to finish it off. Some people like a nice big floppy ribbon, Dan. We haven't sent it out with ribbon because everyone just likes something different. But as long as you've got a loop to hang it from, it doesn't matter. And hopefully you're ending up with something looking a little bit like that. But you can make it, say, if you've got bits left over, you can fill them out or whatever. But if you hang that on your door, or you hang a piece of ribbon, I actually really like just tying a bit of ribbon through here. We've got a little bit on the one we did the other day. But you can have, red ribbons, gold ribbons, whatever you fancy, basically. But just hook that round, and you can make that shorter if you're using a ribbon and you don't want to use the wire at all. Well, don't worry about it. And you can get some really clever hooks for the back of the door that literally just hook over your front door or wherever you hang it, and then you just hang the ribbon off it. So that works really well. But hopefully you've all ended up with something looking roughly like that. And the only thing that we need to finish off with is the hips. So now, to really, really get get your gloves going or your hands. The state of my hands now are really pretty good going. Very prickly hips. And we will cut them reasonably long, like so, and then just poke them wherever you want to. And you can poke them into clumps, into clusters or whatever, poke them straight into the moss. And you have to sort of tease the moss open, sort of tease a hole into the moss, but they will go in there. And if you're struggling, then just make a bit of a point with your scissors, like so. And then you'll be able to get them straight in there, like so. And you can spread them around. I mean, some people, I don't know what you think, but I quite like them quite random. Some people might like literally just little, little clusters of them. But it's whatever you fancy. The whole beauty of this is that you make it how you want it. Turn that off. Those scissors really are useless. I'll go for these ones. Something about the Japanese do seem to make very sharp tools. We've got secateurs, which I absolutely love for chopping our roses, and they are so much sharper than anything I seem to be able to get here. They are incredible. Right, post that in there, like so. And then, are you all right with your prickles? Hopefully you haven't been stabbed. They're quite small thorns, I find, and they really do seem to get one. But if you're actually, I don't know whether any of you have seen the rose stripping thorn removers, which we have, which are just brilliant for you can run. Shame I haven't got some here. Actually, I'll show you what I mean. But you literally just run the stripper down the stem, and then all the little thorns come off it, and it just means that you don't get stabbed by a nasty thorn, because roses are particularly good at getting into one's fingers, I'm afraid. Here we go. A bit wild, but we're getting there. And then put a bit more in there. Just tease it in. You may think, actually, that I'm going to have to make a better job of that. You may think you're not going to get it into the moss because you've got so much else going on, but if you literally do get a sharp end, you will feed it in there fine. And away you go. Right, a couple more bits. Nasty thorns. Yeah, do have a look. I mean, I don't know. Ouch. See what I mean? What did I say? Dear me, they are. I really do strongly recommend rose strippers. Very good idea. Or better still, I say better still, or equally, do wear some gloves, because I really am not doing myself any favours here. Right, there we go. That gives you a bit more. So you've got the red and the green, basically. But you can imagine you could put little pussy willows, really pretty if you've got pussy willow around you. Putting off little sections of pussy willow, or spraying something silver and putting that in. But hopefully that gives you a good idea as to what. Well, hopefully you've all got the same. And please, as I say, I hope you've all finished or nearly finished. Nobody's said anything. You've either all gone to sleep, or you've given up, or you're very happy and it's all sorted. But I hope you're really pleased with what you've created, or are going to create if you're watching this at a later stage. But do please send us a picture, because we'd love to see them. And if anyone's got any questions, do feel free to email us or answer, ring us up, whatever. But I really hope you've enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed talking to you all, because it's very odd because I can't see you, but I'm hoping you're out there, and I hope you've really enjoyed it. And I really hope that, please let me know that your neighbours actually comment on how beautiful your wreath looks. So very many thanks, and a very happy Christmas to you all. Thank you.